Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. So I'm Jose. I'm a founding partner at Delphi Ventures. We're a crypto fund established in 2019 and investors in MyShell. And yeah, Ethan, do you want to quickly introduce yourself? I'm sure maybe most people already know you from earlier on.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that again. So I'm Ethan, co-founder of MyShell, and at MyShell we are building the AI creator platform to empower creators to easily build AI-based applications and also help them to monetize with the blockchain.
Nice. And so initially, when we first came across MyShell, the vision was more focused around chatbots and like personalized AI bots that you could talk to, right? Spend a lot of time on there chatting to all the different bots. And since then, you've sort of expanded to a broader mission of like AI applications altogether. So creator economy for AI applications altogether. Can you talk a bit about that shift? Like,
Yeah, sure. I think it's not actually a shift. I think at MyShell, our initial vision is to helping people to easily leverage different kind of AI models and build a generic application. But back then, there's only large language models, and the easiest application form a creator can build is to write a prompt, set the utility or the personality of the AI agent, and serve as a talkative personalities. But as we have more capabilities around image generation, third-party APIs, data processing, and more complicated reasoning, even AI-generated user interface, it's now possible to empower creator to build something more than just a chatbot. Because I think Telegram chatbot is a good example, because if you guys is using some of the Telegram chatbot, it's not just chatting by texting and voices. They have the complicated menus to actually navigate through different kind of pages, and also the messages contain multiple buttons for your input to choose. So I think that's a application user interface in a chatbot scenarios. So I think the boundary between a chatbot and the application can be, it's getting blurry. Yeah.
absolutely. And so what do you see as the future of application building, I guess, in the age of AI? Because what you're building is like the sort of no-code workflow creator, right? Is that how you see bringing a lot of people into application building, or are there still, to write net new stuff, do you still need to write code? Or
Yeah, I think a few other industry already demonstrated this, like a video production industry. Like we have high quality production from Netflix. It takes a lot of dollars and also takes times. Also, we have those kind of short videos on TikTok. It's just different kind of format of the content for user to consume in different ways. And also game developments. We have like professional gaming studios using Unity or Unreal to build like AAA games. We also have like 7 years old kids building games on Roblox. I think it's gonna be the same for AI powered applications. We're still gonna have the top notch company building complicated system powered by AI. Maybe 70% of the code is written by AI, and also we're gonna have more hobbyists building all their like interesting ideas, either for utility or for entertainment. Maybe like 30 minutes with no-code experiences on MyShell or other no-code platforms.
interesting. Can you give some examples of maybe some of the stuff that you've seen built that you were surprised by, like with AI, with these no-code tools?
Yeah. I think initially there are just people build role-play characters like AI girlfriend, celebrities, and a few others. But as we are providing more and more APIs and the creation toolkit, we saw more like visual novels, because visual novel is quite interesting. You're gonna make different decisions at the different different kind of novel sense, and you have images, voices, and also like different kind of descriptions of the current status, like how much the gold you currently have, what's your strength to battle against those kind of monsters. So I think the chatbot settings and the existing like large language model and image generation models can really empower the creators to build visual novel or the mini games. And I believe as the coding and reasoning capabilities getting stronger and stronger, AI can write code logic, and also the creator can puzzle the code's building blocks all together to build a more complicated and more complete software or the entertaining content.
That's really cool. And what kind of users are going on and reading like the visual novels and stuff? Is it kind of creators creating for other creators, or is it, or there are users that are just there browsing like all the user created content and
Yeah, I think at first there are more creators with a lot of AI expertise. But probably they are developers. They can write code and they can use APIs, but they prefer to build entertaining content with no code because it's going to be faster to see if it's going to pass the PMF. And once the product shows early attractions, he can write code. This is a type of professional creators. And we also saw there are a lot of community hobbyists. They know how to make videos with those kind of video editing tools. And they are already doing a lot of fan-created artwork previously. But now with AI, they can start to build interactive content for both like animes, visual novels, and many more. So basically, I think it's just the same type of hobbyist, but nowadays AI is more accessible for them, just like using a Photoshop. So they can create more interactive content. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's really interesting. And going a bit broader, you guys allow people to use the open source models or the closed source models, right, in your applications. And I'm curious how you see like the open source models like Llama 3.1. Obviously, right now it's, you know, it benchmarks well, but it's arguably a little bit less, you know, less sort of powerful than the closed source models. How do you think, how important is it for us to have like open source models that are close to the state of the art models? And also, how sustainable is it that we all rely on Mark Zuckerberg to do that for us?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think so. First of all, I think open source community has been probably never this strong. Like every the other 2 weeks, we're gonna have new models for large language model, image generation, just many more. I think the community is very vibrant. But the issue is that building different domains of model requires different resources. For example, if you want to build a text-to-speech model, you don't need so many parameters. It's possible for a small research group or even individuals to produce state-of-the-art models. But for a more generic large language model, who gonna have like 100K H100 at home to train the model and open source it for free? I think we had a very interesting chat earlier. It's that I think nowadays Meta or Zapper as a secondary or third chaser for the top closed source models, they're gonna use the open source strategy to leverage the community to use your models and have better impact. But what if Llama 4's performance is better than OpenAI's model? Are they gonna still open source it? I think that's a question, right?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? When it costs, I don't know, $50 billion to train a model, and then it's at par with the other closed source models, does it make business sense to open source it? And if not, is that not going to be an issue? Like even training smaller models, like distilling models, becomes harder if you don't have like a high quality open source large language model, right? Do you think? Yeah. How do you think open source survives? I guess if Meta doesn't keep funding these large the Llama models.
Yeah, I think in reality the trend we saw in the AI industry is that there are researchers in college or very early stage commercial company like MyShell. People do open source as first, but if the open source costs a lot of attention, it's probably gonna only open source their inferior models, and for the best performing models, they're gonna keep it closed source and gonna keep it to monetize it. So I think in the end, probably the most powerful model. It's very hard to rely on the commercial companies because open sourcing and building a company is kind of conflicting. So I think that's how it works in traditional Web2 space. But in the crypto space, maybe open source gonna work because people gonna start to not selling the model usage for their main income. Maybe they are providing an open accessible protocol for people to trade the ownership of the model. That's their main revenue. So in that sense, it still makes sense to open source all the models because that's why people can trust the model more transparently and want to trade the ownership or even potential revenue stream of open source models. So it's really hard to keep open sourcing in the Web2 space, but I think the crypto it has a chance.
Interesting. And yeah, okay. And do you subscribe to a world where, because right now, probably most people who interact with AI are interacting through one of the, 4 closed source models, I guess, like Grok, Claude, OpenAI, and Gemini. Do you see a future like where most people are interacting through these God models, through 4 God models, or do you think we're going to have like millions of models all fine-tuned on specific data, for specific use cases? Yeah, like how do you see that playing out?
I think eventually there are gonna be a few God models. It's like omnipotent, can do everything, but it's gonna be huge. So it doesn't make sense to ask like GPT-6 like what's the weather, and GPT-6 is using like 100 H100 to answer your like what's the weather. So I think eventually gonna be everyone has your very lightweight embedded models as the front end, and it's just gonna understand your intention and route your request to each vertical models. So I think that might be the more economic efficient ways to serve the user. It's kind of like a distributed models. Each model is going to be good at specific domain, and there's a coordinator model understand you the most and understand the cost and also the benefit of each individual vertical models and do the coordination work.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And so, but you do see a world where there are these God models, and for like advanced queries, people go through these God models, because also I guess each ChatGPT 6 might be really expensive, but once ChatGPT 6.5 is out, the cost compresses really fast for that. So I guess like what kind of queries do you think the God models will answer versus the smaller, the much smaller models?
Yeah, I think complicated reasoning and also coding really needs a lot of parameters to proceed, because the scenario cannot be enumerated and memorized. So I think in a more building new software and coding and doing complicated reasoning for mathematical problems, this is gonna need those kind of big models. But for more like retrieval memory or indexing kind of problems, I think small models is quite enough, because it's just a bunch of if-else, but it's represented in a natural language ways to interact with.
Makes sense. And arguably the many model world could exist without crypto, right? Like you could still have many models, open source models, without crypto. What do you think crypto specifically brings to AI that makes for better products, or ideally, or even products that couldn't be built without crypto?
Yeah, I think on the last panel we talked about the new creator economy in the AI's age, because each creator has a lower barrier to become the creator, to contribute. Because previously you need to learn programming for like 3 years to build an application for others to use. But nowadays you probably need to learn what is prompt engineering, and you can start to build softwares. So I think the bar for people to build, to become a creator is lower. So each individual product and the economic scale is also lower, but it's massive. Everyone can contribute. I think crypto in this sense because the flexibility, the permissionless, and also you don't need to register for Stripe to allow your customers to pay for your AI services. I think all these kind of factors gonna help the supply side of the AI creator economies. And also for those kind of open source model building processes, especially for this kind of image model or more data-driven models, each user, consumer can start to contribute by using a service, because previously user can only be charged for using the services, but rather now users' data is valuable, so user can start to be compensated for using our services. I think in this sense, model contribution, data contribution start to become a new economy, which traditional fiat system can work, but the friction is so high. It's not gonna work for like you are using a model, you're gonna get paid like 50 cents you don't want to get PayPal to involved in this kind of processes. So I think crypto gonna make the friction lower and make it easier to work. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And on the crypto side, have you seen any really cool, like what are some use cases? Maybe two-part question actually. What's and maybe a spicy one. What is in crypto AI? What's something that you see a lot of people are excited about that you don't think will work, or that you think is like harder to work? And then also, what's something that not enough people you think are working on or talking about that you're pretty excited about?
Okay, that's a hard question. I think I think probably data privacy is one of the issue because encryption is at cost, and I think enterprise data like legal, medical, and more sensitive data is something worth additional overhead. I think nowadays with probably FHE or like ZK, even if it works in some of smaller model scale, it still have 2 or 3 magnitudes higher inference cost than the non-privacy versions. I think only very few enterprise scenarios actually need the data protection that's gonna have from the more cryptography set of view. But on the consumer side, it's still, I mean, everyone cares about privacy, but how much a individual is willing to pay for the additional privacies. I think it's in the advertisement domain, it's already demonstrated that people always, I think for now, willing to get free services at the cost of users' own data. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it changes if it's your personal model that you're training. You have to upload all your personal data or something like this. Maybe then users will care about privacy.
Right.
But I guess those will just probably run locally, no?
Yep.
And yeah, how do you see that side of things?
Yeah, I think embedded computing is something I think going to be very excited because especially the Apple's M series chip, because previously you need a CPU, you need a memory, and also you need a GPU, and GPU with limited GPU memory. But a unified memory architecture like Apple's M series chip really gonna fit larger models in a single unified memory architecture. That's why like I think the latest MacBook has 128 gigs memory, and also it can be used for GPU memory. So it can serve 70 billion model quantized version running on your local device. I think that's something crazy. Because eventually, I believe it's that a medium and lightweight embedded model to coordinate with very powerful cloud models. I think this solution is working on Apple's device, and want to see how the other compute architecture gonna evolve.
Interesting. And so, is it a world where there's just most things that you can run locally, and then things that are like bigger queries or whatever get routed to whichever the God model that runs on the cloud, you think?
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the scenarios.
Interesting. Okay, maybe last question here. I asked you before what's something you're excited about in AI, in decentralized AI. Maybe I could be more specific. If you weren't building MyShell, what's an area of like AI or decentralized AI, maybe we can go as broad as AI, that you would be interested in building in? Like what are other ideas that you'd want to hack on?
I think if we are not building a consumer product as a company, we probably want to do more open source research, because I think nowadays for a smaller model domain like text to speech, image generation, you can produce a state of art models every the other 2 months. But if you don't update the models, another company or a individual gonna open source even powerful models, and you're gonna be the second, or you don't know where you are. So if we are not building MyShell, we want to build a pure research lab that's just do open source models, and yeah.
Very cool. Thanks very much for your time, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for everyone.
All right, thank you to, you have a question? You have time for some questions? Yeah. All right, let's do it.
So Ethan, I know that you guys, thank you. I know that you guys, at one point, I'm not sure if anymore, but you were working in BitTensor to build a subnet. And Jose, I know I've read some of your stuff online. I know you've done a bit of a deep dive there. Now that the BitTensor ecosystem has matured, I guess you could say, over the last few months, I'm curious to hear your thoughts of what it was like to build a subnet if you plan to continue doing so. I guess just general overall thoughts on BitTensor, maybe Ethan, and then Jose, if you have some time.
Yeah, I think basically the BitTensor system before the dynamic tau is still that you can define the valuable problem, and BitTensor is providing the incentive for people to solve your problem. So we are the owner of Subnet 3, and it's based on our open source model, MeloTTS. So we want the community to do the fine tuning on our base model to do voice call more generally over a broader speaker set, and BitTensor is paying the top performing model contributors. So I think it's actually incentivizing open source research if the problem has the value, and also the metrics of selecting winners in the problem is also fair and unhackable, because we saw there are some of the subnet is, I think probably the problem definition goes wrong. It's not solving something that people want. That's why they are not getting enough weight. And some of the subnet, I think the problem is good, but it's very hard to have automatic metrics to decide which one is a winner. Because some of the, I think previously subnet 6 or 9, there are a few hack incidents that you can just know the answer. So basically you're hacking the mechanism. And it's very, very hard to prevent to be hacked because the incentive is so high. So very smart people gonna try to mess up with you.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but we're out of time, so maybe we can chat after the panel.
Thanks, guys.